Sabrina Carpenter is one of the most exciting pop stars to come out of the last decade. From the release of Emails I Can't Send, to the Nonsense outros, opening for the Eras Tour, the Feather music video, releasing songs like Espresso and Please Please Please, which hit #1 and #2 on the Billboard charts at the same time. Then her first Coachella performance, her first time ever headlining a music festival at Outside Lands, and now today with the release of Short and Sweet, it truly feels like the sky is the limit for her. And frankly, her growth is one of the most insane we have seen of any artist of the past 10 years. The fact that even 3 years ago, I think you can make the argument that the majority of people really had no idea who she was. And now the fact that she has one of the top 10 amount of monthly listeners of any artist in the world in the span of 1 year is frankly insane. And it is such a beautiful moment to see how much her career has blossomed. And Short and Sweet, I think, is such a pivotal moment for that too. As I talked about in part 1 of this series, where previously with Sabrina, we had seen her hit these really high peaks. However, they were always singles and songs. You know, we saw Nonsense and Feather and Espresso and Please Please Please, but she never had like an album moment. You know, we never really saw any of these albums hit the top 10. And now I think Short and Sweet is the start of that, and the start of her becoming this global mainstream sensation that we always knew she had the potential to be. And nothing proved that to me more than when I woke up this morning and listened to this album for the first time. I mean, I think you can see how much her skills have evolved as a writer, how much she has been able to hone this production style, I think, that really leans into these retro beats, but also has found this branding of being this like unapologetic flirt. And some of the things she writes in these lyrics are absolutely insane, and I'm sure not safe for radio, which will be very fun and interesting to see how they navigate. But I wanted to do a review of this album. This will be the first album review on the channel because it's just so highly anticipated. And after talking about Serena last week, it just felt right to really do a review of this. And the way I generally like to review albums, at least for me, is like I'm a big lyrics person. Lyrics are very, very important to me. If I'm really like trying to decide whether I like a song or an album, like I have to like listen to the song like with the lyric sheet in front of me. And sometimes even people will ask me like, "Oh, like what'd you think of it?" I'm like, I don't know. I haven't read the lyrics yet. So this is going to be a bit of a lyrical analysis, but also talking about the album as a whole, because I think again, like we're really seeing the birth of what could be, you know, a global sensation for decades to come. So welcome back to Nicky at Night. I'm your host, Nicky Reardon. This is episode 5, I think, which is insane. You guys have shown an absolutely insane amount of love. Thank you so much. And everybody, don't forget to follow the Spotify. We post all of these episodes in the audio. Listen to them on your car to work, okay? Listen to them in the shower, whatever you got to do. And please give the podcast a 5-star rating. Oh my God, it is extremely frustrating how Spotify literally does not care about like how much follows or anything that you have. It is all about ratings and how many of them that you have. So please, pun intended, give the album a rating. If you're listening to it now, you literally can do that. It will take 10 seconds of your time. So let's dive in. Also, I would like to talk about this hat that I'm wearing. It says Carpenter's Hammer It Harder. I made this hat. Let the record show. I went to Outside Lands 2 weekends ago. And I had so many people coming up to me and asking like, "Oh, like what booth did you get that?" Like thinking it was an official merch. No, bitch, I made this. I found this little patch at the Rose Bowl Flea for literally $2. And I was like, oh my God, I just need to order a plain trucker hat off Amazon for like $5. I just glued it on with Gorilla Glue. I'm obsessed with it. I literally get a compliment every time I wear it. And I feel like that they need to sell this. It's literally so on brand for her. I can't believe they didn't do it. And if not, I'm about to sell this shit myself. So with that, I guess let's just dive in. This album is 12 songs. 2 of them have already been released, Please, 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 and Espresso. So I'm not really going to talk about them because I talked about them in part 1 of the series. And I would just be repeating myself if I did, frankly. So we're really going to lean into and like spend more of the time on the new songs, starting with chronologically taste. And the way Sabrina writes about heartbreak is so much different from any other artist in pop right now. You so classically hear this concept of like, he broke my heart and I'm in love with him, and like, oh no, like I need to get revenge, blah, blah, blah. And what I love about her is it's like the polar opposite. It's like, yeah, we're not together anymore, and that was the biggest mistake of his life, and he should be obsessed with me, and every girl you ever be with will not even be half as amazing as I am. And I absolutely like love that sense of confidence. You know, in Taste, she says, I heard you're back together, and if that's true, you'll just have to taste me when he's kissing you. If you want forever, I bet you do. Just know you'll taste me too. It's like such a crazy read. Like, I just love this unwavering sense of confidence she has in her music. Like, if I had to describe Sabrina Carpenter's, you know, sound or just who she is in one word, I think confidence is the perfect word for that. And she even makes multiple references to her past relationship in this song. Every time you close your eyes and feel his lips, you're feeling mine. And every time you breathe his air, just know I was already there. You can have him if you'd like. I've been there, done that once or twice. And sing about it don't mean I care. Yeah, I know, I've been known to share, which I think is a reference to the fact that she dated Joshua Bassett, which was what the whole like Olivia Rodrigo beef was about. And then also it was like rumored that she dated Shawn Mendes, and there's the whole like Camila Cabello situation. So the fact that she doesn't like shy away from this anymore, I think is such proof of like her growth as an artist. You know, when you think about how when that originally happened with the Olivia Joshua thing, like she had to take an entire year off music, and you know, it took her a long time to, you know, come and like write Skin and then do like Because I Like a Boy. And you see now how in her music, it's not something that she's afraid of anymore. It's something that she owns and takes ownership of, and is even excited to write about, which I think is such a cool, like beautiful evolution of her artistry. And the music video for this is absolutely insane. It draws so much inspiration from iconic horror films like Death Becomes Her and then Psycho with like the shower scene. And I think that Jenna Ortega was the perfect pick to cast in this for a few different reasons. One, I love that they are both 5 feet, like 5 feet flat. And literally the first line of the entire album is, I leave quite an impression, 5 feet to be exact. So like that was such a good, again, like line and the way to tie the two together. And I also love that they just have such polar opposite aesthetics. You know, like when you think of Sabrina Carpenter, you think of this girly pop, you think of the little heart cut out for love pieces and the high boots and the skirt. And then when you think of Jenna Ortega, you think of this like goth, you know, you think of Wednesday Addams, and like she's really leaned into being an actor in this horror franchise. So to see the two of them together is like so opposite, but it's what makes it cool and interesting. And I think that this was one of the standouts on to me through listen through. I think like at the end of this, I'll give like a quick recap and talk about like my favorites and also what I think like the strengths and weaknesses of this album are, frankly. But this was really, I think, one of the, you know, more pop sounding ones. It's really interesting to me how the two singles for this album are like very extremely poppy, and I think the majority of the songs are actually not like that. They're a lot more heartfelt, a bit slower. But Taste is one of the ones that skews more pop. So it does make sense. It was like the first Get a music video and all that going on. But second on the album is Good Graces. And this one felt so Ariana Grande to me. Like, I don't know, when I just listened to the chorus, I could hear it. Like, it felt like it was her. It reminds me also probably the most of Emails I Can't Send. And she really hones in on this concept of knowing your worth and being unwilling to settle for anything less. Quote, when I love you, I'm sweet like an angel, drawing hearts round our names, and dreaming of writing vows, rockin' cradles. But don't mistake my nice for naive. I don't waste a second. I know lots of guys. You do something suspect, this cute ass is bye-bye. And again, like talking about how she writes about breakups and writes about heartbreak. It's not, again, this like wallowing in her sadness. She really hones in on this positive pop and is very like, you know, if you do some shit that like it's gonna piss me off, or if we leave or break up, whatever, like that is your loss. That's not my loss. Like it is on you. And I think that is such a cool perspective to have, you know, when we came from so much of this generation of like the Lana Del Rey's and the Taylor Swifts and the Olivia Rodrigos, who have these very heartfelt ballads, and they're amazing and beautiful and moving, that I love to see somebody really taking the mainstream, doing something kind of the opposite of that. I think is really, really cool. Next is Sharpest Tool. And Sharpest Tool is about how awful it feels when a relationship just fizzles out into nothingness and how emotionally confusing that can be. Quote, "We had sex, I met your best friends. Then a bird flies by and you forget. I don't hear a word till your guilt creeps in. On a Tuesday, send a soft hey. Then later she says, all the silence just makes it worse, really, because it leaves you so top of mind for me. All the silence is just your strategy." And it begs this question of like, did they really care about you? Were they serious about you? Why did they spend so much time on this? And why did they introduce you to their friends if it wasn't serious? And she says again, quote, "Guess I'll waste another year on wondering. If that was casual, then I'm an idiot." And what I love about this song specifically is it talks about like the nuance of relationships. Like I am such a believer that like, it's almost more satisfying to have like a breakup or like a dramatic breakup, because it gives you an enemy. Like it gives you somebody to hate. It gives you something to like take this deep, feeling of sadness or rage or whatever, and like project that onto a person until you have let it course through your system and it goes. But what is so emotionally turmoiling and dissatisfying is when these sorts of relationships just fizzle. Like when you don't have a clear ending to it or a clear reason why it ended, it is what keeps it top of mind. Again, what she said, it's almost like when you don't know why it ended, you can't stop thinking about it because you overthink all the details or overthink like, okay, like why did this person like me? And honestly, like even speaking from my own personal experience, like in my last relationship, I remember like how it was like so bizarre to me. I think in the last like month or two we were together, he had like made this very, very big case about like meeting his parents. And I was like, okay, sure. Like whatever, dude. You know what I mean? But I was like, okay, like he's really into this. And then we broke up like a month after that. And to me, it's so like, okay, well, what was that for then? You know what I mean? And that's what makes it, very dissatisfying. Because if it's just like, you got in a fight and you break up, although that is painful, it is logical. And you can work yourself through that. And the hard things to work through are things that don't have answers to them. Next is Coincidence. And I think Coincidence might be my favorite song off the album. It really talks about like being with somebody who goes back with their ex. And again, how weird that is and how it makes you even question your own self-worth or question whether anything that happened in the relationship was real. Quote, "Last week, you didn't have any doubts. This week, you're holding space for her tongue in your mouth. Now she's sending you some pictures wearing less and less, trying to turn the past into present tense. Sucking up to all your mutual friends. Then later on, what a surprise, your phone just died. You drove a car from LA to her thighs. Palm Springs look nice, but who's by your side? Damn it, she looks kind of like the girl you outgrew. Least that's what you said. What a coincidence. Oh wow, you just broke up again. What a coincidence." And oh my God, is this a relatable situation to me specifically? Which is maybe why I resonate with the song so deeply. But it is... One, I would like to say, anytime you're dating somebody and they go back to their ex, like if you break up with somebody and they go back to their ex, it never works out. It never works out. They ended it for a reason and the problems didn't disappear. They just got lonely. It happens every time. I've seen it happen to my friends. And I said, girl, like he's still the same man. He's still the same man. Like, and it's tough. I think people really seek comfort. It's a big reason why people seek out relationships and stay in relationships is we love to have a partner and we love to have somebody to confide in, but that doesn't mean that they are the person for you. And it's even more painful when you're the third person, when they leave you to get back with an ex. And again, it's like, it's just so confusing and makes you wonder, like, did anything that they feel was real? Was I just like being used to try and get over this person? What about me is not good enough that this other person is so good that they had to, break up with them, then date me and then go back to them? Like it really makes you question your own self-worth. And I have definitely been there myself for sure. And it's tough. It's tough when somebody else like kind of shatters your self-confidence in that way, and what it does to your ego. But also you have to understand that like some people are dumb. Some people are dumb, like, or they just don't know what they want, or they just were not the person for you, dude. Like, oh my God. I can just think of so many times, and it's so hard to see when you're in it because feelings get in the way, and you can really, really like somebody and really, you know, resonate with who they are and be creatively aligned or romantically aligned, whatever. But that doesn't mean they're the person for you. And that doesn't mean that just because you enjoy, to quote my favorite movie of all time, 500 Days of Summer, just because a pretty girl likes all the same things that you do, it doesn't mean that she's your soulmate. And like, that is so real. It's so hard to feel that, especially when you've been single for a long time or you're just really craving that sense of intimacy. But just because somebody likes the same things as you do and you're attracted to them doesn't mean that they can be a life partner or, you know, somebody who's willing to be with you at your lowest. And that is a very, very important thing to acknowledge. And I think another thing I love about Coincidence is this whole album, honestly, like really more of the heartfelt ballady type songs are what stood out to me the most. But what I loved about Coincidence specifically is it felt like the production still made it a bit more upbeat. We have this like acoustic guitar and just the way she's singing it, like the themes are very, very deep and about, again, this concept of like love and whatnot, but the sound and like sonically, it feels like something I could listen to in the car with the windows down, you know what I mean? And I love that. I love when people are able to combine these very, very deep messages with something that I feel like can still like bring me that sort of like dancey feeling or upbeat or just make me want to, you know, be happy and move. So that I think is why this song is so, so impressive. Next is Bed Chem. And this is the first song where the production really kicks in. I'm going to be honest, when I was listening to it the first time, when I was in 3 or 4 songs in, I was pretty underwhelmed with the production because I think that's what really stood out to me about Espresso and Please, Please, Please specifically. They had these like really just charming retro beats to them that were hypnotic. Like it's what made these songs so repeatable to me. Like, and honestly felt like something I could listen to with no lyrics at all. But when I was listening to this album for the first time, it just felt a little bit more plain, just like, you know, very simple production they had heard before. However, Bed Chem was the first song where we really saw this make a comeback. And again, this song leans into Sabrina's branding of being this unapologetic flirt and not being afraid to sexualize herself in ways that women in media are typically not allowed to do. Quote, I bet we would have really good come right on me. I meant camaraderie. Like, what a crazy thing to write in a song. And again, like, I don't think this one's going to make it to the radio. There's a few songs on this album that are not going to be able to make it to the radio. But I love that she's doing that. Like, who else would write that? You know what I mean? And I think that's when I think about like artists really hitting their stride in this past year, it's people who feel original. They feel like they are creating this own pathway for themselves. You know, like that's not something Taylor Swift ever could or would write into a song, or even a Beyonce like could or would write into a song. Like it's just not them. It's Sabrina. It is. She loves to be, you know, kind of witty. And again, I've talked about this, how her writing really comes with a lot of these like setups and punchlines. And it's weird how almost her songs are like trying to tell a joke. And if you pay a lot of attention, there's so much wit and just, you know, these quick little one-liners and stuff in it. And I absolutely love that. And honestly, I just love that like women in pop are feeling more okay with like talking about things sexually. You know, if you think about any song written by a man or like any song, especially like any rap music, like it's so fine and normalized to like talk about sex or like being a player or like having a lot of girls, having a lot of boys, whatever. But like pop has always been this like, ooh, like, no, we're not going to talk about that. You can't be sexual. You can only be heartbroken. You know, you can't be a player. You can only be in love. And I hate that because that's just so not the way we work. Okay. Sometimes you want to have a hoe era and that's healthy and it's acceptable and we should normalize that. Like, you know what I mean? Like people can talk about that. And I love that that is really starting to happen again, especially from the perspective of women. It has always been like you know, girls have to be like so cutesy and bubbly and flirty. They can't be overtly sexual or they can't talk about that they enjoy that. And we've really seen that narrative start to be be reclaimed in the past year. Then we go to Dumb and Poetic. And when I listened to Dumb and Poetic for the first time, I literally felt chills like down my spine. This is like really, I think, the first like deep ballad off of the album. Quote, "Don't think you understand. Just because you talk like one doesn't make you a man. Don't think you understand. Just because you leave like one doesn't make you a man." And oh my God, knife in the heart to whoever she is talking about. Like, that is brutal. Just because you leave like one doesn't make you a man? Are you kidding me? Then she says, "You're so sad. There's no communication. But baby, you put us in this situation. You're running so fast from the hearts you're breaking." And I absolutely love this line. I hate the narrative of like, can we still, like, we just broke up, like, can we still be friends? Like, I'd really start to keep you in my life. No, bitch, we cannot be friends. I don't like you. We broke up. Like, there is no bench on Team Nicky, okay? You're on the fucking roster or you're not allowed in the stadium. There is no in between. Like, I don't need to keep you in my life. You know what I mean? We tried this thing out. I don't have any hatred towards you. I don't have any ill will towards you, but like, I don't need to like hold on to these shreds of whatever was here. Like, if it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work, and that's fine. But I don't want to like hold on to this. You know what I mean? And that's what she's saying. When you're so sad, there's no communication, but baby, you put us in this situation. Is like, yeah, you know what I mean? You don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to dangle somebody behind you and keep them on a leash, like just in case you want to revisit this in a few months. That's not the way I'm fucking operating. Like, it just shouldn't be that way. And again, I feel like we should be fine with that. Like, it doesn't mean that you have hatred towards your ex or hatred towards this person, but it also doesn't mean you have to like keep them in your life or still follow each other on Instagram or, you know, keep in touch once a month or whatever. Like, you do not need to do that. I'm sorry. I don't want to do that. I don't want anybody to do that with me. Like, it's just weird to me. And I think so much of like moving on sometimes is isolating yourself from the situation and any and all things. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I actually think it's extremely healthy to sometimes be like, okay, like this didn't work. I need to give myself space to feel that out until I can find something new. And that is really what I loved about Dumb and Poetic. I also just think in general, like, it's so well written and just an absolutely beautiful song. Next is Slim Pickins. And this song felt so Dolly Parton to me, which was very like, please, please, please. Also felt very Dolly Parton, which was cool. Honestly, when she had like released Please, 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 and then Slim Pickins was the one that she was like playing live. So she didn't like release it as a single or anything, but there were like videos of it online. I thought this album was kind of going to end up being a bit more country. It was not at all, which I'm very appreciative for because I don't like country music. But Slim Pickins is a song about literally how it is pretty hard to find a suitable male. These days, the Pickins are slim. Quote, "Oh, Slim Pickins, if I can't have the one I love, I guess it's just you that I'll be kixin' just to get my fixins." And just, again, it's one very Dolly, like the writing feels so Dolly Parton, like you can almost imagine it as like a full country song. But also, like, again, talking about this idea of like, I am seeing this person not because I think that they are so amazing and perfect, but because I'm lonely. And it's Slim Pickins out there, girl. Like, I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel to find somebody. And sometimes you just want to feel that companionship. This idea of feeling companionship and feeling loved or just having somebody appreciate it and acknowledge you is so real. And I love, again, like, I love that she's writing about that. That's just not, you know, I'm so in love or I so hate him. It's like, he's kind of just here to meet a need of mine. Like, if I found somebody better, I would. And quote, "Jesus, what's a girl got to do? This boy don't even know the difference between there, and they are. Yeah, he's naked in my room." And again, it's like talking about how she's like, yeah, I know that this isn't the person for me, but like, I am feeling my needs need to be met with peace and love. The needs need to be met, and that's okay. Like, we should normalize that. Then we segue into Juno, and my favorite thing about pop music in 2024 is that the girls are getting horny. And I love it. Like Lunch by Billie Eilish, Guess by Charlie XCX, and now Juno by Sabrina Carpenter. My God, this girl did not hold back on this one. Quote, she said, "Don't have to tell your hot ass a thing. Oh yeah, you just get it. Whole package, babe. I like the way you fit. God bless your dad's genetics." Like, That's crazy. Again, not making it on the radio, but we love it. We love it. Even in the chorus, she says, if you love me right, then who knows? I might let you make me Juno. Just talking about getting pregnant. And like, again, I just love that she has like really kicked down this door of being unapologetic about her sexuality, especially when you think of so much that happened to her in the past with like, because I like a boy and being slut shamed and, you know, all the shit that was going on about people calling her a homewrecker and all of that. And it's, I think, a beautiful transformation to see that she didn't let that like defeat her and try and become this like perfectly, you know, PG, brand safe person to avoid criticism. She did the opposite. She was like, if that's what people are going to call me, like, I don't care. And like, I am a woman who like likes to hook up with people sometimes or likes to, you know, feel loved, whatever. And that's cool, right? Like it is, again, I love that she has like paved this way for herself. It's not something that I feel like any other artist would do. I don't feel like any other artist would write that. Again, talking about how she has like this puns and these wits, you know, just like I might let you make me Juno is just like a funny little pop culture reference about like a man who gave with a man and like getting her pregnant or whatever. Obviously not literally, but you know what I mean? Like it's so Sabrina. And I think that that is something like to really see how she's evolved as an artist and evolved in her writing specifically is things like this. Like, I think also there's this narrative of like, in order to be a good writer, you have to be so deep and talk about like these deep things and like metaphor and like poetry and like you can. There's nothing wrong with that. But also sometimes being a good writer is like, how do you deliver a message to the audience? At the end of the day, that is good writing. Do you have a story that you're trying to tell? Can they clearly understand that story in a way that is emotionally impactful? And that can be done through like very deep and sorrow and emotionally or thought-provoking things. But that can also be done through like fun, witty humor. And that, again, is like this magic of Sabrina Carpenter. And when I was really paying attention to this album and, you know, even songs like Espresso, and she's like, that's not me, Espresso. Like, it's dumb and makes no sense, but it's funny and it's cute and it was very memorable and it really rolled off the tongue well in the song. And like, that's why it blew up, right? It's not me, Espresso. Like, oh, like every time I walk in, like you feel a bit of energy, you know what I mean? And that is like really her finding her craft. Again, like talking about these 10 years to be an overnight success stories. It's like not all of her music was like that in the beginning. You know, it took her, you know, writing a song, I feel like Nonsense in the beginning, then going on tour, then doing the Nonsense outros, then starting to perform on Eras, then, you know, writing Espresso and performing Espresso and seeing how that took off and then like crafting and shaping this album. Like you see how there was this clear track record of improvement. Like it's not necessarily you just wake up one day and everything happens, but every action you take is a piece of the puzzle. And just because you can't see the full picture yet doesn't mean you're not building something that's going to be really beautiful one day. Next, we have Lie to Girls. And Lie to Girls explores the depth of how far a girl is willing to go to keep a man. Most of all, how willing they are to frequently lie to themselves to maintain the sense of inner peace. In the lyrics, she says, quote, "You don't have to lie to girls. If they like you, they'll just lie to themselves. Don't I know it better than anyone else?" And later on, she says, "We love to read the cold, hard facts, then swear they're incorrect. We love to make butterflies feel like cardiac arrest." Yet attempting to maintain this sense of inner peace and lying to yourself or just ignoring the red flags to, you know, not cause commotion or not cause the end of something often causes yourself to feel deeper and worse pain later on. But again, Lie to Girls was such proof to me of like the ballads on this album are just absolutely insane. And I think that was something that we really weren't expecting based off the singles of this. Like it really seemed like she was leaning into being this like super hyper pop girl and you know, like being very feminine and flirty and fun. And I love that this album has range in that way. Like we do have a lot of that, and it's fun and it's ephemeral and it's euphoric. And we see how, you know, a song like Espresso defined the entire summer, but that wasn't all of the album. And again, when talking about her evolution as an artist, like I think that is a really cool thing to see. You know, we still have these elements of like the Because I Liked a Boy type songs in there, because she can write in both ways, which is really, really beautiful. And we have Don't Smile. Don't Smile reflects on the aftermath of a breakup and how emotionally painful that can be, and wanting the other person to experience that same pain that they made you feel. She does this by taking a turn on the common expression, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened, yet states the polar opposite. She says, quote, don't smile because it's over, cry because it happened. And I love songs that do not try to glorify the end of a relationship. Breakups are painful. They suck. We don't like them. We don't need to, smile because it happened. Like, you're sad and you're depressed, and that was like a heart-wrenching experience, and they make you question your self-worth. They make you question if you wasted your time. They make you question if those things that person told you were really true, or were they lying to you, or did the time you spent together really meant anything? Like, they are so emotionally confusing, and you go through this wheel of emotions in your head that is so hard to process. And I hate that, songs are very like, la-di-da-di-da, we're in love, or like, oh my God, we broke up and I hate him. It is so natural to want somebody to feel that pain that they caused you, because we don't like feeling pain. And they, it would feel this great sense of retribution to have them be able to empathize with you in that way. If she even says in the song, like, I want you to miss me. And that reminds me of like Happier by Olivia Rodrigo. It's like a very similar theme, when she says like, I hope you're happy, but not like how you were with me. And I absolutely love songs like this, where they're not trying to overinflate the way they feel. They're not trying to, be this perfectly, PG sense of like, oh my God, like I wish the best for you, and like I'll always be rooting for you, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's okay to not feel that. Like, it's okay to be like that person hurt you. And when somebody hurts you, you feel hurt inside, and you have this innate ability to like want them to like feel that hurt, or at the very least, like be able to have the semblance of like what they did to you. And I think that, again, is like why I absolutely love this album. We see how it has such emotional range, from happy-go-lucky fun with Espresso to these very, very deep songs like Dumb and Poetic or Coincidence, yet also these songs that are like so overtly over-sexual, like Juno, but then other songs that are really, really questioning her feeling of self-worth and love. And to me, like, that is what makes a great album. Like, I feel like this album has a cohesive storyline, yet it's not just sticking to one monochromatic emotion. It has range and it has depth, and I think that is really, really beautiful. And even sonically, again, like I talked about how I thought a lot of the production was going to be like a bit more country or something like that, but when I think of like the highs and lows of this album, there are two that immediately jump out to me. The first is that I wanted her to show off her vocals more. I think Sabrina is like one of the most talented vocalists of this like new generation of artists. When I think of incredible vocalists, I think of like her and Renee Rapp are like two big ones, and they have such powerful vocals. Again, like talking about the end of like Because I Like a Boy, and that, like, when she uses that and weaponizes that in her music, it draws this sense of emotion from me. And it's not that any of these songs are bad at all, but I didn't get any power in her vocals in a lot of this. Like, a lot of it felt pretty safe and like in her range. And I would have loved, even just like one song that had like a big like, wah, at the end of it. And then my other big gripe with this album is, towards the end of it, it gets a lot better with the production, but some of the songs in the beginning, like the production-wise, just felt a bit plain to me. Like, again, talking about like Please, Please, Please specifically in Espresso, like that, like that was like, it was so hypnotic to me. Like, that's why I wanted to listen to those songs over and over again, because they just felt like satisfying to listen to. And I love that she had really leaned into this like visual branding of like very 60s hair, very 60s fashion, and to have these like retro beats incorporated really made these like visuals match the album in a really cool way. And we saw that in both of the singles, and we do see that with some of the songs on this album, but I wish we got a bit more of that. Like, I wanted that to be like a very big through line through almost every song on it. And I feel like it was really, really strong in some points, but there were some points that it was lacking for me. But the high points is like, I think the writing is absolutely insane. Again, like, it really, you can see her evolution as a writer, especially when you compare it to some of her earlier work. I think that you can see how much she has like improved, even just mentally. It feels like in a lot of the themes and stuff she's talking about, and the lengths and depths she's willing to go in either like being sexual or talking about heartbreak or talking about past relationships, you know, when that used to be such a sensitive subject for her, to have grown past that and not just be willing to talk about it, but write entire songs about it, I think is so beautiful. And I think my favorite songs off the album so far are Dumb and Poetic and Coincidence. Like, those two songs just spoke to me so deeply. I think maybe just because of my own personal past relationships. Again, like, I have been in a situation where somebody broke up with me and then dated an ex after me, and it felt really weird and kind of invalidating of like, what about me wasn't good enough, you know? And the way she wrote about that really spoke to me. And then Dumb and Poetic, again, just talking about just because you talk like a man doesn't make you a man. And how what really makes a man or makes a partner is somebody who is willing to work through shit with you. Like, relationships are not measured by high points and how somebody makes you feel. They are measured by your ability to handle friction. And somebody who is not willing to look you in the eyes and say, I don't like what you did, or I'm angry at you, or I hate you even, is not worthy of your respect. Like, at the end of the day, even if I absolutely hated somebody or hated what I thought they did to me, I would look them in the eyes and tell them that. And if somebody can't do that, they are not worthy of your respect. And so what it is going to look like for the future of Sabrina's career, I cannot wait to see how this album performs in charts. I mean, I feel like it's all anybody's been talking about today. And it's so exciting to see. I'm going to be seeing her on tour in November. And I just like really could not be more excited. I don't know. I hope that this was interesting. I've never done an album review like this, so I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I have no idea what next episode is going to be on. I think I'm going to do a poll on Instagram because I'm kind of between two topics for the next episode. I want to either do like a video on like the downfall of Katy Perry's career and kind of what's happening with her right now, because I think it is so fascinating how we can see somebody who used to be one of the largest artists in the world, used to hold the record for the most amount of #1 songs off a single album, completely dismantle what they have built in like record time, is fascinating to me, even from like both a music perspective, a personal perspective, and like a marketing perspective too, of like, why did they miss the mark and why did they miss it so greatly? So that is a big like first idea of mine. And then the second idea of mine is that I've really been wanting to do like a marketing review and social strategy review of the Kamala Harris campaign, because I think it is just so fascinating what is happening and how much we have seen social media really like take over and influence politics in this way. Obviously, politicians have always been on the internet since it's been around, but I don't think we've seen it have this much of an influence than it is right now. And I think what is happening right now, regardless of who wins, will define how these types of things happen for decades to come. So those are two topics I've been kind of toying with in my mind. I don't know. I think I'll post a poll of it, let you guys post. So follow me on Instagram. I'll put the link as like a pinned comment. And yeah, please rate on Spotify. Please subscribe. And I love you. I'll see you next week. Bye.